We all know that Make America Great Again is about making America white only again.
Project 2025 has entered the stage with all the subtlety of a bull in a china shop. We all know that Make America Great Again is about making America white only again. Whether you're chuckling or cringing at that statement, it's clear this plan has stirred up quite the debate. So as we dive into the key elements of Project 2025, a manifesto that's either the blueprint for the punchline to a very long joke about regressive policies, one thing's clear: it's got everyone talking, debating, and inevitably face-palming.
Are you familiar with Project 2025?
Only at a high level.
I mean, I'd urge you to read up on it a little bit more because it's horrifying. You should take a closer look at what some of your fellow Republicans have been up to. It's a plan to essentially install Trump as a dictator.
All right, buckle up, because Project 2025 is here to save America, or so it claims, with all the flair of a reality TV show that's been taken over by a circus. Picture a coalition of conservative masterminds drafting a blueprint for a future Republican utopia that's less about progress and more about regressing to a time when whitewash nostalgia was in vogue. Critics are quick to point out that we all know that Make America Great Again is about making America white only again. And while that might sound like a snarky jab from a satirical news show, it's ignited some serious and deeply concerning debate. Project 2025 is designed to make sure that everyone, especially businesses and high-income earners, feels like they've hit the jackpot, but only if you're in the top tax bracket. Imagine a permanent sale where everything is marked down. Black Friday every day, but only for the wealthy. By slashing income tax rates and corporate taxes, the plan is to flood the economy with cash for the rich and corporations. It's like handing out endless coupons for the wealthy, with the delusional hope that this will magically lead to widespread economic prosperity. If it works as intended, the rest of us might be left wondering why we never seem to find our own pot of gold.
Plan from the ultra-conservative Heritage Foundation aims to overhaul several portions of the federal government. Some of the proposed changes include a restructuring of the tax code.
Ever tried to do your taxes and felt like you were solving a puzzle designed by a sadistic accountant? You'll love Project 2025's solution, turning the tax code from an intricate maze into something simpler, like IKEA instructions, minus the Allen wrench. The plan is to gut the tax brackets and eliminate many deductions and loopholes, which might sound great until you realize it's a thinly veiled attempt to benefit the wealthy while leaving the rest of us holding the bag. It's the tax code for billionaires, just what the 1% ordered.
Among the specifics of the plan, dismantling the Departments of Homeland Security and Education, FEMA, and NOAA, the agency that tracks hurricanes. Giving the president greater control over the Justice Department, and with it, federal prosecutions.
Ever felt like businesses are playing an endless game of Mother May Why with the government? Project 2025 promises to cut down on the red tape, essentially giving corporations a free pass to operate without oversight. The theory is that fewer regulations will magically reduce costs for businesses, encouraging them to expand and hire more workers. In reality, it's like removing every speed bump on the economic highway, allowing businesses to cruise ahead while the rest of us get left behind, dealing with the mess left in their wake.
An abashedly imperial presidency, one that would turn the Justice Department against critics, deport millions of people in the U.S. illegally, slap 10% tariffs on thousands of products, fire perhaps tens of thousands of government staff deemed insufficiently loyal.
Just like a New Year's resolution to cut down on calories, Project 2025 wants to put the federal budget on a strict diet. This means identifying and trimming what they consider to be excess fat in government spending. Programs that are deemed inefficient or unnecessary could face significant cuts or even elimination. Picture the government having a massive garage sale, getting rid of things that have been collecting dust. Do we really need this old program? Nope, out it goes. Project 2025's vision of fiscal responsibility might look great in a press release, but the devil is in the details. The proposed cuts to essential services are essentially trimming the fat off the budget. But it's the muscle, social programs, healthcare, and public infrastructure that's getting slashed. This leaves the most vulnerable in an even more precarious position while the wealthiest continue to enjoy their tax breaks. It's like putting a fresh coat of paint on a crumbling wall. No matter how glossy it looks, the underlying issues are still there. But hold on to your hats, because the real kicker is the approach to the national debt. Imagine the national debt as a monstrous, ever-growing credit card balance that's so out of control it feels like you're drowning in financial quicksand. Project 2025 proposes to tackle this debt with the same reckless abandon as a contestant on a binge-eating competition, slashing spending without a second thought. They promise to reduce the deficit by making dramatic cuts across the board, essentially gutting essential services in a high-stakes gamble that might only make the problem worse. Think of it as a fiscal do-or-die strategy where drastic cuts to social welfare, healthcare, and even defense are on the chopping block. It's like taking a chainsaw to the budget in hopes of trimming down the national debt, but instead of slimming down, we might end up in a fiscal freefall. This approach could lead to more than just a tight squeeze on the budget. It could unravel the safety nets millions depend on, leaving them high and dry while the wealthy continue to cruise along unscathed. The Trump-era love affair with reckless tax cuts and deregulation, dressed up in Project 2025's flashy new suit, does little to address the root causes of our national debt. Instead, it's an illusion of fiscal responsibility that leans heavily on cutting programs that serve the public while sparing the wealthy and big corporations from any real sacrifice. It's like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic while ignoring the gaping iceberg in front. When it comes to Project 2025's approach to spending cuts, it's like watching a circus act where the clowns are armed with budget spreadsheets instead of pie-throwing props. Imagine a grand budget makeover that's less about thoughtful trimming and more about bulldozing through with the subtlety of a wrecking ball. The plan zeroes in on specific programs and agencies it deems unnecessary or inefficient, slashing through the federal budget like a toddler with a pair of safety scissors. First up on the chopping block, social welfare programs. These include food assistance, SNAP, housing subsidies, and unemployment benefits, essentially the safety nets for millions of Americans who might otherwise be forced to live off ramen noodles and canned beans. Project 2025 views these programs as prime examples of government overreach. The plan suggests that maybe the private sector could handle these services better, like outsourcing your family's Thanksgiving dinner to a fast food joint. In reality, cutting these programs might save some cash on paper, but it could leave people scrambling for their next meal or roof over their heads. It's like removing all the safety nets from a trapeze artist and hoping they'll stick the landing with a dazzling smile. Next on the hit list, healthcare expenditures. Think Medicaid and public health initiatives. Those essential services that keep people from using the ER as their personal doctor's office. Project 2025 believes private healthcare solutions could be more efficient, akin to swapping out your trusty old car for a unicycle. Reducing healthcare funding could mean fewer doctors, higher costs, and a lot more people Googling home remedies for their ailments. Imagine telling someone with a broken leg to walk it off and hope for the best. It's a surefire way to turn basic healthcare into a high-stakes game of medical roulette. And let's not forget defense spending. Traditionally untouchable, this might get trimmed down as well. Project 2025 could cut some military programs and bases, as if national security were just an optional luxury. It's like deciding to save money on a security system by leaving the back door wide open, hoping that burglars will simply get bored and go home. While cutting defense might sound like a great way to reduce spending, it risks leaving the country with a security gap big enough to drive a tank through.
Either the deep state destroys America, or we destroy the deep state.
So, while Project 2025 might paint itself as a revolutionary fix for our fiscal headaches, it's crucial to see through the veneer. It's essentially a dangerous echo of Trump-era policies, prioritizing lavish tax cuts for the wealthy and deregulation over the welfare of everyday Americans. Far from a solution, it's a high-stakes gamble that could leave the rest of us footing the bill while the affluent bask in their newly minted tax breaks. If this plan becomes a reality, brace yourself for a bumpy ride that could benefit the top 1% while everyone else deals with the fallout. Project 2025's approach to spending cuts is akin to a Marie Kondo decluttering spree, but instead of tidying up a closet, it's slashing through essential services. If a program doesn't spark fiscal joy, it's out. This method prioritizes what the architects deem essential while shifting responsibilities to the private sector, like asking a neighbor to babysit because they're good at video games. But be wary. While this approach might look neat and tidy in theory, it could leave a trail of unintended consequences that hit the most vulnerable the hardest. Now it's your turn. What do you think about Project 2025's proposed cuts and tax changes? Do you see it as a necessary reform or a risky gamble that could leave the majority behind? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's spark a conversation about how these policies could impact us all. Your voice matters, and together we can navigate these complex issues and advocate for solutions that truly benefit everyone.